It's not good. It's not good.
Damn.
But I love it. Anyone who's furious at me for hating Veronica Mars, I love the show. I'm gonna keep watching it forever.
So
But
it is good.
It's so its own thing, and I love it. It's so bad, Bryson.
Wait, so it's bad good.
It's bad good.
I understand that.
There are parts of it that I adore, and other parts that are so bad. But one thing that really bothers me is, like, I can tell the writer feels so clever all the time. And it bothers me because I'm like, it's not natural. Like, this isn't a real thing.
Alrighty, what up, you guys? I'm Brysin Smith.
And I'm Javin. And this is
Etcetera.
Yes, baby.
I'm just gonna hit into this, actually.
We're in. We did it. We're on another episode.
Right. And if you're new, thank you for stopping by here on this freaking podcast / YouTube channel. We talk about controversial topics, anime, media, here and there.
Yeah.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Now we have a schedule. Prior, we didn't have a schedule.
We
just
do.
Kinda, yeah.
And you'll see, if you look at our update video, you'll know what we're feeling on the matter, everything.
Right.
It is cold as fuck
Mm-hmm.
in the garage we're in right now. Literally blowing cold air. It's ridiculous.
It is really cold. That's why I got this poncho on.
But we're gonna be talking for about an hour on what we wanted to talk about, which is we're writers. We're writing scripts. One in particular we're pretty proud of and we're working on pretty consistently. And our main thing for our scripts, we have three major principles above all else. Cinematography, of course.
Yes.
We have characters. The characters need to be good. The characters absolutely need to be a priority in their development, all of that. And dialogue.
Yeah, dialogue is important.
And we can talk about what makes good cinematography, and we can talk about what makes good
also
characters.
Music.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, music was a huge
music
one.
is
Yeah, that's a necessity.
Yes.
But dialogue, we were kind of just wondering, like, what makes good dialogue? So we're gonna talk about that today. Which I find pretty funny because our job is talking.
Yeah, we
it's
talk.
literally dialogue.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, off the bat, like, what are your instincts about it, Bryson?
Okay, so when it comes to dialogue, from what I've gathered thus far, for me, I like to. Okay, so like as a movie nerd like myself, obviously when I watch movies, I critique them, because I like them, and paying attention to dialogue is important. Usually for me, what I do is if there's something I like, or like I'm weird. If I hear little phrases or something, I'll write it in my phone. Like I legit have notes of things that I like, so I just write down. I'll read scripts of something that I like. I'll find it on the internet and study like what this particular writer did. And I think that's like really key, especially if you're like a writer or aspiring writer, to get better at something, is like literally study the craft. And there's websites out there. I've bookmarked a few. I don't know them right off the top of my head, but I was telling Javin before we started recording, like there's literally little websites that will guide you in, like, say for example, if you wrote something, like it could be something, what if you just, something simple like I walked down the block, they'll give you an example of like what a professional writer would do to make that way better. And it'll show you like basically night and day. So just things like that. Yeah, that's like little tips on just like how to get better at writing dialogue, because dialogue isn't the easiest.
No, and it's really interesting that we even have sites like that. That seems so
It's
absurd.
dope. Yeah, it's super dope.
But that's amazing.
Yeah.
But my instinct is, like you said, like practicing the craft, looking at good writing is really important. More than that, look at what conversations you enjoy in your everyday life. Like, what kind of conversations would you prefer to have?
I was going to say that too. You can even think of like conversations you've had amongst your friends or parents or whoever, and just basically try to recreate it in your mind. Like, the point of good dialogue is for it to feel as natural as possible. Like, feel as natural as possible, you know?
Yeah, even if it's not a conversation that would realistically happen or even happen that way, making it feel natural is going to make it feel like an actual conversation that you and I could have.
It's important.
For example, and this is kind of what I keep getting away from the mic. This is kind of what a movie recently came out on Netflix called, and I'm so sorry if I fuck this up, Malcolm and Marie. I'm pretty sure it's Malcolm, right?
Yeah,
okay.
it's Malcolm.
I'm so bad with names. It's entirely dialogue. It's 100% dialogue, just two characters in one setting, a house. Different rooms. Yeah, it's very, very good.
It's not to cut you off, but it's one of those movies to where I feel like it's good to people who like movies. I feel like your casual movie watcher would not be like, they'll be like, that's boring, or they'll fall asleep.
That's true.
It's like
That's
for people who are into film, I would say.
And even in the movie, it's about the movie's about a filmmaker and his girlfriend who helped him through the process of making that film and was part of the inspiration for that film.
Shout out to Zendaya. She never opened my DMs, but that's okay. I made a TikTok video about that, but she's still dope.
She'll get you one day. She'll be into you. But she's a phenomenal actress, obviously. And I forget the other actor's name. I'm so sorry.
It's Denzel Washington's son. I forget his name too, but that's who he is.
It's some Jason. Man, I'm sorry.
No
I'm fucking
idea.
it up. But long story short, the dialogue in the movie is phenomenal, and there's one piece of dialogue that really sticks out to me. It's where Zendaya, spoilers, Zendaya does her whole thing where she goes like a little crazy, right?
Oh shit, Daya,
so
when
good.
That was so good. I know what scene you're talking about. I was like, yo, did she really fuck all his friends?
I was there.
I was like, yo, and then right after he was like, why didn't you do that when you?
That was the part that sold it for.
Yeah,
like, why'd you audition then? I'm like, oh my god, it's so beautiful.
I gotta be honest. At one point, I was just like, okay, Denzel Washington's son, he was like the star of this. And then at one point, I was like, Day is the star of this. And then I was like, dang, they're 50-50. Like they both did this.
They brought it.
They really did. And that was a great scene that you just mentioned. Spoilers.
Easily my favorite scene of the movie because it showed me, and I can't even quantify like how dialogue does this, but it showed me that all in one scene that they are toxic to each other, but they're also really healthy and good to each other. That in spite of their toxic traits, they still do work on improving each other, having their own independent lives, all of that. Where he was like, she did this, it's crazy what she did. She did something crazy. And his response wasn't outrage. His response wasn't, you're crazy. His response was like, why didn't you audition then? Fuck. They get each other. To some level, they get each other. And they, in spite of their weaknesses, loved each other.
Think about this, though. Like, that scene, imagine reading that script, but not being able to bring those words to life. Like, and that's what I'm saying.
Shoot myself. Oh my god.
Because you know it's golden, you know it's dope, and Daya was like, she's talented enough to make that what it was. But imagine that same dialogue on a more bland actor.
I would have just been so bored. That entire movie would have been so fucking boring. Because
not even just on her, but even on Denzel Washington's son. Like, imagine if the actors couldn't hold up to the script.
Then it wouldn't be a script, and that's kind of the point, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you put down on paper. It doesn't matter what you could
how real it feels.
You can't put lipstick on a pig and bring it to the pageant and expect it to win. You literally have to work at it. You have to make it feel real. And part of that is literally wait. Being John Malkovich.
Oh, great
There's
movie.
a scene, I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen a clip where it's all John Malkovich.
Oh, you should. It's really good.
I know. Yeah. I need to. But the actor, it's all the same actor, and they're like, John Malkovich. You remember that scene where it's all the same actor?
I haven't seen it in a very long time, since I think the last time I saw that movie actually was 2014. I have this weird talent where I remember when I don't know, it's weird as hell.
He does. It's true. He can like date movies really well, like with a year margin of error. But
it was the same actor you're saying that was doing that?
No. Yeah, it was all the same actor, and it was like his head on a bunch of different bodies, and he was saying one line, John Malkovich, but with different tones, different expressions. He was acting. And obviously acting's important for a script, But the script is also really important to make acting good. You've seen movies where it's a famous actor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're shit in a movie, and you're like, but they're good actors.
It's
You know
the
them.
script.
It's usually the script, so it's like a
Usually.
reciprocal effect. So if I had to take a stab at it,
What's up?
I would say you can't just say something and expect it to be meaningful unto itself. For example, if you have a scene where somebody cheated on somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you don't just say, I cheated on you. Have the person be like, what? How could you? And the other person just go into what the experience was, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That is an experience everyone knows. It's not unexpected. It's not new. It's not novel. And in fact, isn't usually how that conversation goes.
Right.
We all think it is, right? We all think it's like, well, they shared information and that was tragic and that's terrible.
There's emotion behind it. There's both a responsibility on the writer, would be the script, and the actor. There's a responsibility for both, because you want a good script and you want a good actor, because you want that actor to bring that script to life.
Right. And the reason I feel an actor can do that is because an actor is able to convey emotion. It's
Right.
nothing special. I know, like, that sounds like a cliche. It's like, yes, of course, an actor's job is to bring emotion to
I
life.
feel like it is something special, though, because not many people could do it.
That's true. It takes a lot of practice. I don't know, like in every conversation I've had, right? The ones that I really value, the ones I really enjoy, it's not because anything that was said was special. Obviously, wittiness is something we all like.
Yeah,
But
right.
what it is how it made me feel in that moment. And the reason I say things is because of how I feel in that moment. So for an actor, for a scriptwriter rather, I think our job would be like, we have to express somebody's emotion that they got cheated on without actually saying that they got cheated on until the end.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
you can do that however you want. But like Malcolm and Marie, or better yet, the special episode with Rue
Oh,
of
man, so good.
Euphoria, amazing. And they talked about her drug addiction. But it wasn't just her drug addiction. They talked about the emotions surrounding it. They
Right.
didn't directly say, hey, you shot up this drug and it made you feel bad. They barely talked about her actively doing drugs at all. They talked about her life and how she felt about it. How
Right.
did it make her feel in that moment when she did this terrible thing?
It's everything around it.
Exactly.
It's everything around the actual thing.
Which ironically, or maybe coincidentally,
Mm.
is actually how erotica works. Like,
When you
like
oh
written
yeah.
down. Yeah, it's
Which-
like everything around sex.
I've just come into the knowledge of that recently. I know I'm late to this stuff. I don't, not to go off on porn, but I'm like,
Go.
when it comes to talk like porn, I'm like, I've always been basic with porn. I just found out about Mind Break, and like, I mean, like as far as like last week to 2 weeks ago, recent
Yeah, it's true.
erotica and Mind Break. I'm like, what the hell is that?
You're innocent to the sins of this world.
Honestly, yeah, I am to some degree.
Bryson.
Anywho.
And no, like that's a really good point. Like I feel like sex is a really good metaphor for dialogue, where it's just like the point,
You're right. That is a great metaphor for
right?
dialogue.
You don't just go straight to fucking unless that's what you're into.
Writers, take heed to that. I'm even gonna take heed to that. I'm like, yeah, just think about that. Erotica is a perfect metaphor for writing dialogue in a script. It's everything around it. Focus on that, the build up, the intensity, and all that stuff. Like everything that surrounds the actual topic.
Right. Like the fact that Rue hit her mom. What does that have to do with drugs? It didn't have to do with drugs. It had to do with her making bad decisions. What bad decisions has she made? She's cut off friendships. She's lied to people. She
Right.
did things that she never thought she would ever do,
All because of drugs.
which we already know.
Right.
So we don't need to talk about the drug experience directly. We need to talk about everything around it in the same way that we all know what fucking is. Of course we do. Obviously, some people are like, oh man, I just want to fuck. But that's not everyone's experience.
Right.
It's around it that enhances the actual act
I
itself.
have a question.
Go
What
for
is it you think that makes someone, us, the audience, fall in love with a character?
I think, and this is going to sound somewhat lame, but I think literally just it's something interesting about the character. I know it's so generic, but if a person
that works,
does
huh?
something interesting, and what I mean by interesting is
That could be anything.
it can be anything. I think it's one of two things. It's either something relatable or something you haven't heard of before, or something you don't.
Yeah, I
normally
agree
see.
with that. Actually, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, usually characters are even people in real life that people like the most. Like if we start talking about celebrities, usually the celebrity that's the most relatable is the one that has the people. The person that you feel like you could relate to them, like they're just normal. It usually is the most popular.
Right. I would even say that's like how do you feel? What's your favorite character?
Just in general, like ever.
Like what are your favorite kinds of characters?
Favorite kinds of characters? I really like Rue from Euphoria. The reason why I like Rue from Euphoria is more so on the relatable spectrum. I feel like if I were to meet her in real life, we would just be cool as friends and hang out all the time. And if I'm being real, do drugs together. But relatable. So
It is.
And I'm drawn to that. Who else or what else? I don't know. I like off the top of my head. Oh, I really like in Waves, Tyler's sister, because again, I feel like we would just be cool as hell and hang out. Like, yeah. What else? I don't know. I'm just like super into like relatable characters, like characters that I can actually see myself talking to this person. I know what's his name. I keep thinking Deadpool. He's pretty popular. Why? I feel like when I Deadpool's cool, but I think the reason why I'm drawn to him, my connection to him isn't as strong as other characters I like.
Right.
I just think he's funny and witty and he's interesting. Like, but he's definitely not like, I don't know. He doesn't like click for me, but he clicks.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's and that's characters in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think certain characters just click. And when
Yeah,
they
that's
do,
true.
it's because they're relatable or because something is interesting about them. Like, I think for me, it's characters that I both relate with and admire. So, like, characters I would want to be more like. So, characters who are like stupid smart in this story, stupid confident, like they have a game plan and no one else does. I like those characters. I'm not that person. But I just love it. Like Marty Byrde from Ozark. Love that character.
Oh yeah. He's cool.
He's so cool. Or in Euphoria, I actually love almost all the characters in Euphoria. But I happen to like Rue a lot, not because of her problems or her relatability, but I just like how smart she is.
See, now that I'm thinking about it, for me, like even if we spill into anime, I'm thinking about the Naruto universe, and I'm like, my favorite character is a character that he's not relatable. He's very dark and serious. But Hanzo in Naruto, he was the ruler in the Hidden in the Rain before Pain killed him.
That's right. Yeah.
That guy, I really like him. I also really like Naruto. Naruto has a nice spirit. I like his spirit. He's always, he doesn't give up. He's always pushing through. Like that classic spirit is classic for a reason. People like that. Who else is there?
There's so many.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool characters, and it's just like, what is it that makes them cool when you think about it? I think what has to do with it too also is aesthetic, like how the person visually looks, whether it be they're attractive or just something about them that is appealing. Again, back to Hanzo, he has like no, I don't want to say he doesn't have a personality, but his aesthetic is cool. Like he runs a village that's hidden in the rain. He walks around with a gas mask. His eyes look dope. He's just as dope as hell. So I like that.
You know what? I'm gonna say something bold again.
What's up?
I think this ties back pretty directly to our sex example.
Okay.
I think like
You're right. Yeah,
it is,
you're
like,
right.
it seems shallow, but it's like visual appearance matters, whether it be
Yes.
for sex or for characters. It's like
Yes.
and if you want to have sex with somebody, it's either because you're looking for something from them, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing, or because you just relate with them and like talking with them in some way.
That is like the most perfect metaphor for dialogue.
Sex.
Wow.
You know what? I might just approach that. From
You should,
now on.
honestly. That should be a thing. Like, if talking to someone, be like, okay, let's talk about sex. They're like, sex? What? Or specifically erotica.
Literally, yeah, no, specifically
yeah,
erotica.
specifically erotica.
It'll tie back. It'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. This character is so we have to kind of translate would this character be sexy in this context, and then translate that back into a character.
Right. Yeah. that'd be
Is
perfect.
this character a tall, long hair, blonde, big tits kind of character,
Right.
or is it more subtle, like shorter?
And that's like metaphorically speaking, right?
Yeah, no, literally,
Yeah.
literally a metaphor. Like,
Yeah.
are they a bold character that's out there and aggressive and also like generally well liked, or are they quiet and shy? I'm
sorry, but I want to say I think I see a perfect example of this because it's so original, especially for when it came out, would be the Dragon Ball Z series. When you talk about the storyline of Dragon Ball Z, it is the most basic, boring. It's not complex at all. But look at the characters and look at what they Super Saiyan, like, were there Super Saiyans before Dragon Ball Z? No. Not only like they look cool as hell, they legit transform into like these blonde, buff, like everything about it. Like Dragon Ball Z has a lot of aesthetic with their imagery and even their outfits and all the fan made stuff that people do with them is really, really cool. So, but the story is so basic and boring, but you still watch it and it's still going till this day since like 83. So it's like a perfect example too. It's like,
it's just so visually appealing.
Exactly.
You're interested in the conflicts. There's obviously a million things that make a good story. But in terms of like dialogue and characters, I really think you've just got to let the idea cheating, right? Cheating is a conflict that's sexy. Or murder. That's an interesting conflict, right?
Murder.
And so dialogue's job isn't to make murder sound better. It's not to make cheating sound more intense. What dialogue is for is to make that cheating matter to the characters. And the only way you can do that is through describing their emotions regarding that conflict. So I think a trap that maybe a lot of writers could come into, that I know I can get into, is being like, oh, they need to talk about what happened. They need to talk about, oh shit, cheating. They need to talk about why they feel the way they do about cheating, when in reality, what we need to do is allow them to talk about just who they are, like as characters, what their emotions are about themselves in that situation.
Right. And this is good advice, not only for me, but you guys. Like hearing this is also helps with me, because I know that, and just like everyone else, you do go into like a writer's block.
Yeah.
You kind of like, you could be in the zone for however many weeks or a month or so and just have a moment of like, damn, I really don't know how to write this next. I don't know what to do. I don't know. And then you kind of, excuse me, you kind of take a break for a bit, right? And then that break turns into like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, a year sometimes. Like,
honestly,
that's how
though,
it is.
That's most writers experience that.
Yeah.
I was about to say great writers. We are great writers.
Yeah.
We will be.
I wanted to finish my thought. I was going to say,
absolutely,
but with that in mind, I feel like when you kind of dive into that writer's block, I think now, like I know what I'm gonna do now. When the next time that happens to me is I'm gonna go back to a conversation like this, and I'm just like, Brysin, think around the subject, not the subject. I think that would help me.
That's really good
That would help
advice.
someone like me.
You know what? Actually, and thinking back on it, sometimes, not as often as I would like to admit, but sometimes I actually do take that approach where it's just like, if I'm not getting anywhere with a character, where I'm just stuck. There's this character and I'm like, I want it to feel better.
Right.
The answer isn't to enhance something. The answer isn't to deepen another aspect of their character. The answer is actually, and this is something you're told not to do usually, but in this situation where you're just stuck, just add shit. Just add shit. Like, okay, they have an eye patch and they have a peg leg now. They have, just keep adding until something sticks. And when something sticks, you can kind of cut the fat.
Yeah,
you
I
can
was just
cut
gonna say
around
that.
it.
That would actually that would work too. That would really work for me.
Right. Yeah. You like, it's essentially you're fishing for things. And so whether it comes to dialogue, maybe not all of it hits, right? Maybe some of it hits for somebody and some of it doesn't hit for another. But as long as the emotion's real, then the dialogue will feel natural.
Right. And if you're fortunate enough to have friends or someone that also are into film or writing, talking to them helps too. They could help you go back and forth with ideas and whatnot, stuff like that.
That's true.
Yeah. And then there's the internet. Like there's things you could do to like get you back into that place. I know that's how I am. Like I will
Yeah.
Google something, read something, talk to somebody just to get different perspectives on what I'm writing. You know,
Inspiration. Yeah.
it doesn't work so well with your friends that aren't writers, because one thing I've noticed with them, if you show someone who isn't into writing or a film like that, they're just gonna be like, "Oh, Brysin, this is so great!" Like, "Oh my gosh, you wrote this!" Like, yeah, but I need it to be critiqued. Like, I hear you, but I need you to actually like be like, if it's solid, tell me. If you feel like something's not so good, tell me. Like, I need different
Right.
perspectives. That's gonna happen with your friends that aren't into writing.
I cannot tell. You're so much like my brother. My brother also, he's a critic, almost like as a way of living.
Sure,
And that's not a negative. That's not an insult. Like that is his way of life. That's his passion, is critiquing things. And he's so frustrated by people. Like when he makes something, and he shows them, they're like, "It's so good." He's like, "Fuck you, get out of here. I wanted you to give me a legit assessment."
Aggressive.
He is aggressive.
But yeah, that's why you gotta ask the right people.
Yeah, you got to talk about the
What's up?
perfect example. You got to talk about what's around the dialogue. Like when you make something and somebody shows it to you, they don't want you to just be like, "Yeah, that's pretty good." You got to talk about the things around it, not just the content itself.
Right.
Like, I like this character. I like this thing. That's not what feels wholesome.
Right.
But if you talk about, it's like, "Oh, his hair actually complements his sweater," and that makes it feel more deep in relevance to another feature or whatever. You got to talk about the details around a character, around dialogue, around the content, and that makes it feel more whole, more deep.
That's literally what I just did. I had a friend that sent me a script and I just read it and I thought it was dope. It was like a little short story script and I thought it was really cool. So I sent him like a long ass message just breaking things down of what I liked and what I didn't like. But I pretty much liked most of it. I was letting him know like really what I liked. And the little critiques were just like little minor things, really, like words or something. But he's a pretty cool writer, and he told me thank you, and he's still gonna brush up on some things that he feels it needs. But for the most part, it was solid, and I was just letting him know how I felt about certain things in the script.
Right, which feels more genuine, honestly. If you describe not only the value of something, like, "Oh, this is a valuable thing," or "This is good," or that doesn't feel as honest as "This made me feel something. This made me feel this. Oh, this poem makes me feel sad." Yeah, go ahead.
Or even I don't like this part of it because this. That's good.
That's good. Like there's this thing called a compliment sandwich, and it's a cliche and it feels condescending, but it actually does work. Is where you say something nice about it first, and be honest, be genuine. Like, this is really good because of this. Then you go into the critique of, this needs work. You could do this instead. All of that. This would make it feel more authentic. I get where you're going for. Maybe this would be better. And then you end it with another compliment. But in spite of that, it's still really good. This is especially really good.
That works.
It's kind of like an essay where you have an intro, middle, and end. Yeah, you gotta compliment.
I feel like that works because it makes the creator go back and look at it like in its fullness. Like, okay, he liked it, but maybe I can change this, and just little nitpick at it to make it better than what it already is.
Right. And we're going to continue that thought in 1 second.
Right after this break.
I actually don't remember what your point was, so we're just going to have to move on.
I don't either.
Yeah, we forgot in the midst of all the madness. But essentially, what it breaks down to really is you got to make the emotion real, and you got to talk about, like, make it feel like a conversation. Conversation is random. It starts in fits and bursts. Wow, I lost that word. Anyway.
They are random. They go, one moment is going this direction, then the next is going that direction. What's crazy is when you're talking to someone, like you could be talking to someone about a particular topic, and then they start talking, and then the conversation changes, and then you forget what you were gonna say. Like you forget what you had in mind.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's cool when you do see that in certain movies, when it just like, oh wow, this is like, it's just natural as can be.
And we took an interpersonal communications class, so we talked about what being a good listener is and what makes good conversation. And
Right.
one of them seemed pretty paradoxical, where you're supposed to add details about what happened, but you're not supposed to add details where it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. It's just like I'll go for it.
I was gonna say we were supposed to have our interpersonal
Interpersonal communications, Bryson.
teacher on here, and I haven't wrote him back. I feel bad about that because it's been like a week.
Oh shit!
But he's dope as hell.
He's amazing.
He was a cool teacher. We wanted him on the podcast. But yeah,
funny
we
as hell.
learned a lot from that class. Basically, like listening is like one of the most important things you could do. Stuff
ever.
like that.
Like
Yeah.
in terms of like as a skill,
Mhm.
you will never go wrong
And-
learning how to listen better.
Not to go too off topic, but it's like when you're talking to people, just listen to them. Especially if you're talking to a woman that you're interested in, let her do all the talking and just absorb everything about her.
Everyone likes talking
Yeah.
about themselves. Like I love talking about myself.
That's actually a real thing. I feel like we're kind of going off topic a little bit.
No,
but that's-
it's relevant. It ties back.
It
Go.
is. It's like a skill to getting people to. So there's a thing. What is it called? But when you're interested in some, it could be anything, not just romantically, but just friendships in general. If you want to befriend someone, when you compliment, and when I say compliment, I mean like when you act on their level in terms of what they're portraying. Like if you meet someone who's high energy and then you're high energy with them and you match that, they'll resonate with you.
That's
if
true.
you meet someone who's super chill and you talk to them on a chill level and you resonate with that, they'll match with you. And all you do is just talk to them and listen to them, and it'll be cool. That's like how you befriend someone.
Yeah, that's honestly like how I make most of it. That's how most
Yeah.
people make friends.
That's how you do it. That's literally how you do it.
I think it's called mirroring, where
Marrying, yeah, I knew something like that.
yeah, something like that. Where you like kind of mimic their behavior a little bit to make it feel more inviting.
Right,
Code
right.
switching. That's what that's for too. Where you
Right.
change your language to match how the other person speaks and vice versa.
That is literally what that is.
And really, that is just to make people feel comfortable around you and you around them. So like listening, literally just focusing on what they're talking about and actually absorbing it. And then even doing this thing called active listening where you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this detail, I know what that is. Continue.
Adding that in dialogue is good.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
No, it really is though.
It makes it feel like a human being. You're like talking to a human being. Honestly, what dialogue is just trying to make human beings sound like human beings.
I have to do that with my writing. I feel like I don't add in enough like cut ins. I feel like I could do that more with my writing.
Mm-hmm.
Just as I'm going over this conversation in my mind, I'm like, that would feel way more natural because me and Javin have been doing it even during this conversation. So it's like, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing, and it feels genuine. More than that, it also tells you what kind of person they are. So if you
right.
have somebody who, for example, it tells a lot about a character when they're talking and then they're cut off and then they respond angrily, or if they respond
right.
by being quiet and listening, or if they respond by, it tells a lot about the dynamic, about the
Yeah, that's
interaction, just in that small little thing, like, oh, I got interrupted real quick.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so much there. So dialogue, man, there's a lot to it, but I feel like all of us have had conversations enough to where we can know what we like in conversation.
Right. That's
at
why
least.
that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where you could literally just pull from conversations that you've had in your real life with any family member or friend, any unique experience or feeling or something very unique in your life. You could use, if you could somehow utilize that into a scene, that would be essential. I remember I watched, there's this YouTube, this is when I first started getting into writing. There's this YouTube video of like, it was like an hour and 20 minutes of different writers talking about what makes a good movie and what doesn't make a good movie. And it really helped me because there was all these different writers just giving advice on things. Just from scene after scene, it was like jump cuts of different writers talking about, we do this, or you should do this, or this is what I do, this would help for you. And one of them was, I remember he said that when you're making up a character, don't try so hard on like making up this character's personality. He was, I'll literally take the personality from someone you know in your life and apply it to the character and go around that. I was like, wow, that's really good advice, because at that time I was legit trying to like make up. So I'm like, I could just put this personality on this character I made. Like, that is so helpful.
Right.
That was very helpful for me.
It's because people are people, right? They're so
Exactly.
deep. And so for you to make one from scratch, not impossible, just like, Jesus, you're making it kind of hard on yourself.
You could take so much load off yourself by just thinking of someone that, like, if you want a specific character to have this personality, I'm pretty sure you know someone or know of someone who has those traits that you could just apply to. And you know how your friends talk. You know their rhythm, how they speak, stuff like that. Like, it won't be that hard.
And that's only at first. Like, you'll start there, but the character will evolve. The character will
definitely, for
become
sure.
something of its own accord. It's not as if you base that character off of them and then it stays there and you're like, okay, this is a ripoff of my friend John. It will change because of the story that you're telling.
You know what's funny? Going back to Malcolm Marie, that's how Zendaya felt in that.
Oh, really?
His film was doing
literally,
the character off of her, and she was like, "Yo, that was my character, and you didn't even give me it."
And he was just like, it was based off of a lot of different people. It was this person, this
She's
person.
like, "Bullshit, that was me." So
It was funny.
there you have it. You have an example in an actual movie.
In an actual, a movie about a movie.
Yeah,
It's so good.
That's the best way to do it. It really is.
And dialogue, I feel like, is pretty simple. It's like, how does this person talk? Talk about how they talk. Like, just go through it. Like, what are they describing? What makes it feel real to me? And for me, okay, there's a show called Veronica Mars. It is a terrible show, and I love watching it. It's garbage. It's junk food, and I love it. But one thing about the show, other than its many, many problems, that really bothers me, and it normally wouldn't, is the dialogue is constantly witty and clever.
Like 24/7. Well, like all the time.
24/7. Somebody's making a pun or a joke or using clever wordplay. I love clever wordplay.
Is this a cartoon?
No.
Oh.
It's like a fuck. It's about a girl who's a detective, right? And she's in this rich town. It's kind of like, I can't compare it to another show. I don't know why I'm blanking.
And it's not good?
It's not good. It's not good.
Damn.
But I love it. Anyone who's furious at me for hating Veronica Mars, I love the show. I'm going to keep watching it forever.
So
but
it is good.
It's so its own thing, and I love it. It's so bad, Bryson.
Wait, so it's bad good.
It's bad good.
I understand that.
There are parts of it that I adore, and other parts that are so bad. But one thing that really bothers me is, like, I can tell the writer feels so clever all the time. And it bothers me because I'm like, it's not natural. Like, this isn't a real thing.
Maybe that's literally not what he's going for, though.
Fair. Completely fair. But it's the fact that it's every character, no matter who they are. Mm-hmm. Every character has something clever or something wordy to say, some clever wordplay. And it actually takes me out of it. It takes me out of the experience because I'm like, I get that the writer thought of something clever to say, but would this character actually say this in this moment all the time? There's only like 2 characters that I believe that for. Other than that, it's unbelievable. And that told me it's like, no, you don't just have to be clever with your dialogue. In fact, that's not your job at all. Your job isn't to make it seem clever, to seem perfect, to seem witty, to seem well crafted or elegant. Your job is to make it natural. That's it.
So do you think for you the issue of the show is the fact that it's too witty all the time? Maybe there should be moments where it's not so witty.
Yeah.
But still have that touch, but just not exaggerated like how it is.
Yeah, it's exaggerated. I would say that's a good word for it. Like, it's like, in real life, if somebody's constantly that witty for everything you say, you won't enjoy their company.
Will not.
And nobody in the show seems to respond.
I feel like I would, honestly, because I would be like, I'm the type to where, like, I kind of feed off the energy. Like, if someone's really witty with me, I could be really witty back with them.
That's fair.
And I feel like when your brother, when we first started to getting to know each other, he was always witty and I was always witty back. But I thought it was really cool.
That's fair.
I like it. So, I don't know, because my friend Alma, I had a friend Alma who reminds me, and I always say this. Shout out to Alma, by the way. I don't know if she'll watch this, but she literally reminds me of the leading actress of the show on Netflix, Portlandia. That is literally her. And Alma was always witty, always funny. Like everything was everything she said had a touch to it. I'm like, how did she make that funny? You know,
Okay,
I
that's
liked
fair.
it. I don't know, and I was like, she's so dope. I love the fact that we're friends.
Fine, Bryson. I'm weird. No, that's
I
fair.
like wittiness.
That's
I do.
fair. I guess. Yeah, that's true. I like witty.
I like
people.
wittiness in real life, and I also like wittiness, like in the context that you're saying it. But I don't think I would like it like how you're saying it's exaggerated to where it's too much.
Constant.
In real life, I would like that. I don't think I would appreciate it so much on like cinema though. Like the whole thing is witty.
Right. It's like
I don't know.
I really can't explain it, and maybe I do have to explain it in order to fully understand dialogue better. But like, there's something about it where it's like each thing is clever, and
Right.
I'll be like, hey, that was clever.
Yeah.
But it's like the fact that it almost feels like that's the point of the dialogue,
That's what I was saying. Like maybe that's what he wanted.
and that's not. I don't like it.
Now I want to watch just an episode of this just to kind of see what you're talking about, because now I'm curious to be in like, am I interested in this? Like I want to know if I would watch this.
I think
I wouldn't.
not like
See,
it.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like I wouldn't, because if it's witty throughout like all the time, I probably wouldn't.
It's also
but-
white as hell.
Oh, then yeah, I might not like it.
There's a token.
I
black
might not
character.
resonate with it, but I mean, I'll still watch it. Like I love Portlandia. That shit's dope as hell.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good show.
Or even
There's so many.
Rex. Like there's some good ass shows out there.
And there's also comedy shows where it's like it is constant wittiness, and I actually don't mind that. I like it when comedy shows have heart to them, but it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
strictly necessary. I
a
do
good-
like
What's a good example of that though? Like,
The Office or
Oh, yeah.
Parks and Rec or almost most comedy shows nowadays have some level of heart. Rick and Morty.
substance. Remember we had a conversation about, like, we were up all night talking about.
Literally,
We were trying to figure out what is it that makes something like a show or a movie so great. And then we came to this conclusion that no matter what movie or show it was, it had some sort of like real substance to it. Even if it was a comedy, even if it was a comedy, it still had some underlining thing that was like real about it.
right, and that's not to say like what makes a good show or whatever,
Right.
but it's like about what makes it great, a well-rounded experience. Like Rick and Morty, you're like, oh, this is funny, this is awesome, this is amazing, and I love it, and then they add heart to it, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is a great show.
Yeah.
Done.
So you gotta have substance. It doesn't matter what it is. Substance must be there. No substance, it might be cool, but it won't be great.
It won't be great, and
At least that's what we've got from the
I think so.
information.
I think we're right. And the
Yeah.
opposite is true, where it's like if it's all heavy all the time, you can't have that moment to breathe. You don't have that
Yes.
moment where you're like, I don't actually know what's going to happen next. Game of Thrones actually,
Oh,
in
yes.
some ways, suffered from this. Great show. And genuinely, it does not suffer for this for a long, long, long time, which is extraordinary. Genuinely a great show. But towards the end, other than the many, many reasons that the 7th and 8th season don't exist, one of the reasons that it was a problem was because it ran out of ways to be hurtful. Like every season hurts you. It hurts you deep.
Okay.
And you're like, fuck, how'd you do it to me again? I knew you were going to do it, and
Right,
I
right.
still got hurt.
Right.
I still got burned. And they, throughout the show, give you moments of breaks, like little breaks where you can be like, oh, well, this won't happen, though. This wouldn't happen again. That's amazing. That's how you do it. But then towards the end, it was constant, like, I know bad things are going to
So
happen.
you're saying it got too serious for you?
It got too serious too consistently because it was the end. It was towards the end. And so it's like, because every season had something so profound and so devastating, to try to scale that up again when you know it's the finale is like, okay, who are you going to kill now?
See, for me, I'm a different palette though. I actually like that. Like, I get it that certain serious movies or shows, like, you do need a break, so they'll add that little laughter in or something that'll make you laugh. I like it when it's done cleverly, to where it still kind of works for the film or the show. Not, I like it when it's not just funny for the sake of being funny and it's silly.
Right.
I like it when it's like, oh yeah, that would be funny in that circumstance. Like, of course we would laugh, no matter how serious the situation could be. I think a great example of this is there's this movie I really like. It's a foreign movie called Handmaiden. Very serious film, beautifully shot, but there are like little mini comedic parts in it that's like, that is kind of funny. But yeah, like I don't know, I do like more serious toned
I do too.
shows. When it comes to comedy, I don't really watch that many comedies. I'm more of like stand up when it, like if we're talking about, I like watching stand up.
Stand up
Personally.
But even with stand up, a great show versus an average show still has that principle. Where
Yes,
it's like if
you're right.
you add in heart, great.
Perfect example of this would be Dave Chappelle. He is very serious with things that he talks about on his stand up, and he's still hilarious. But you see how passionate about he is about certain topics. So he would be a great example of that, which again proves the point that we came up with.
Literally, yeah, it's like I think
Yeah.
the reason for it is in the same way with dialogue is you kind of have to talk about the things that are around something. So if you're constantly killing off I know you're saying that you like seriousness pretty consistently.
I do, but
and
like,
that's fair.
yeah.
No, I'm not even going to say that that's the issue. It's not like comedy and seriousness are diametrically opposed.
Right.
What I mean is expectations, what you're expecting versus what you could be expecting. So
Okay.
in a situation where it is like a serious show, if it is so serious all the time where the stakes are so high, or great example is some superhero movies where the world's at stake.
Oh, yeah.
Who cares? And you don't care because you already expected the highest thing. There's nothing more.
They're so predictable too.
It's predictable.
We know it's going to be good in the end.
And in the
We already
same
know.
way, comedy shows can be really good and they do subvert your expectations. But if you know it's constantly going to be comedic, then any opportunity where it's just like, oh, this character is going to die, you're like, they're just going to turn it into a joke. So great, but I don't super care. And the same way with a serious show, the stakes are so high all the time. Everyone you love is going to die. Then why love them at all? Why even do it?
I do want to say on behalf of the comedy community, I just had this thought, so I feel the need to say it. But like you were saying, you go to a comedy show and you expect to be funny.
Yeah.
I think because of that makes being a comedian one of the hardest jobs.
Yeah,
Because
it is.
you're going somewhere where people are expecting you to be funny. And if you're still funny, that says a lot. Just saying. But I do want to bring up, there's this anime called Ergo Proxy where it's serious all the way through. And looking back at it, I'm like, that's sort of the theme of the show, or is the theme of the show. It's still a dope show, but it's literally dark all the way through. Like there's nothing comedic about it, but it's still cool.
I believe,
But-
good, right?
Or
But
still
not
good. Yeah, still
great.
like looking back, I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's things that could have made it better, but it was still good.
I agree. It's good, but not great. And that's, I think, what we're kind of coming to the conclusion to. It's like you can do something and kind of lean on it
Right.
as an expectation. But if you can't subvert that expectation, then it's really hard to make it great. It's hard to defy
Yeah, I
people's
think-
expectations. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, I was
in
gonna
the
say
middle of
another
talking.
example was the show that I've been watching it's called Jobless something. It's an anime. The dude that was in his mid-30s, but he dies and he wakes up as a kid.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Great show, great writing, and there's comedic elements into it that actually work. And I think that when you add that sort of realness to it, that because life is funny at times. There's just certain things like even in your most fucked up part of life, even in that you
Yeah,
can
there's-
find something funny. Like even if you're talking about like people, like even slavery, I'm sure there are slaves who had comedic things at some point. Even being, picking cotton or whatever. It wasn't just like, yeah, it was sad all the time, but I know that they laughed at points in life.
Right, which makes it feel more natural. It makes it feel like
Exactly,
a well-rounded
yeah.
experience, which really is the goal of writing. I know it's, again,
Yes.
such a cliche. It's like, yeah, I know I have to make it natural, but how? But it's like, look at nature, look at how you do things. And the reality is nothing's ever sad all the time and nothing's ever happy all the time. Nothing's
Right.
ever funny all the time. And in fact, it's more gratifying that that's true. That
Right.
It isn't all that. For example, Attack on Titan, a show
Uh-oh, more
pretty
anime.
consistent. Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. In Attack on Titan, it's pretty consistently bleak. It's pretty terrible
is.
most of the way
Right.
through, except for the moments where they throw in like little bits. They'll throw in a little bit of heart. They'll throw in little minor moments of breaks where you're like, I like these characters, and I like that they're human beings that can do other things other than suffer, and that makes the suffering taste that much sweeter.
Right. They throw in like little bits of like heart, like what you said. I don't think I've seen anything in that show that's made me laugh though.
That's
yet.
fair.
Like it's been, like you said, pretty serious and bleak all the way through. But it still works for the show, and I think that's because the writing is just so good.
It's so good.
Like the story is very well put together. You can obviously tell that they have taken their time with this. It just works.
A lot of studying.
I guess it's like one of those things to where, you know, people say like it doesn't matter what you do, like you can break the rules as long as it's done well, which isn't easy to do.
Yeah, which is that's the hard part, right?
But again, even that show has substance
Yeah, it does, and
for the sake of the show. Like
right, like
for-
the potato scene. I just love the potato
Wait,
scene.
what potato scene?
Where
What scene is this?
where Sasha, she's like eating the potato.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
That's so funny.
Okay, no, see that was a comedic element. Yeah, that was.
But it was like, and I understand what you mean by like making the
Thank you, now that I
thing
think about it,
real. But like even Aaron sometimes.
Which is the main character of the show we're talking
Main
about. If you don't know what it is, it's called Attack on Titan.
Oh, sorry, we're in a
Excuse the car,
garage.
Yeah. What were
I'm
you
gonna
say?
wait for the car to back out.
Oh, is that?
It was in the
Anna?
driveway. Yeah. So the idea, even with Aaron has moments that, you know, when he falls on his harness and he just like flops on his face. There's a whole thing where he has to overcome the conflict of getting his ODT, I think it's ODT gear, and he has to balance on it perfectly. That could have
I
been
remember that.
that
yeah.
could have been taken out and it would have been fine. It'd have been fine. It'd have been okay. Nobody would have cared. But it adds heart to the character. It didn't have high stakes. It didn't have, I mean, yeah, maybe he wouldn't have passed, but if they took that out, he still would have passed and it would have been okay. But
Well,
it added something to the emotion of his character.
Not only that actually connected to a later part in the. Do you
True.
remember?
I
That guy purposely
do.
messed up his gear so that it could happen.
Spoilers.
Like 3 seasons later, right, or something.
literally 3 seasons
But
later.
back to like the whole writing situation, they've literally connected all the dots in the show.
They're very good.
It's
at
really
that.
good. So they for the most part, like we've picked up on one thing that we were like, okay, that didn't add up, and it was a tattoo situation with a character.
Yeah, that's the most.
Yeah. Man, that's just us nitpicking. It's a tattoo. They claimed that a specific character had a tattoo like all their life or something. And there was a particular scene where she didn't have the tattoo. And we were just like, what?
Yeah, we're like, oh, come on. But they are consistent with other things.
But they are generally very consistent with this show. Very well rounded in connecting the dots with things that that they do or say throughout the series.
Right. And that's, again, it's like, it's to make it feel natural.
Right.
Real life has continuity. Things affect things. Things are random. So you just gotta, unfortunately, like there's no other advice you can give other than you just gotta study, learn it, make it real to you, and put down what you want.
But I will say, even though that's the answer, we went over a lot of things that could help you. Like
That's
we went
true.
over a lot of good ways to, I guess, trick your mind into finding the answers or finding your rhythm back into getting out of writer's block.
Yeah, that's an important thing.
Which I know, like even having this conversation, I could look back on this video and be like, all right, maybe I should do this or maybe I should do this. So it's not that black and white, even though it is that black and white.
Yeah, it's like, it is black and white, but because of your emotions and who you are, you can never approach things as black and white. It
Exactly.
always has to be nuanced.
Exactly.
And it's
It's a great episode.
a great episode.
I like this episode.
Talking about writing is like one of our favorite things to do, literally. And in fact, we always go back and forth. It's our friend group, even the people we surround ourselves with,
Right.
literally all love to talk about writing. So it's really easy to find myself in the mood
Yes.
to talk about those things, to put work towards those things.
To get lost.
So
in the
maybe being
matrix.
in the environment that is conducive towards that is helpful as well.
That's what I was telling them. If you,
You
I
did,
said
yeah, you
if
did
you
say
have
that.
friends or anyone, that helps. But yeah, see, like we went over like everything.
We did. We
Most
got
things,
it.
yeah,
This is a full tutorial. You don't need to go anywhere else. Just watch this
Literally,
episode.
it is a tutorial. Alrighty. Again, I'll say if you want to follow us on social media, make sure to do that. Links will be in the description, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.